Is that
It's
okay?
just my phone one.
You sound fine. Hello, viewer. How are you doing? Thanks for joining us. Welcome to Full Record Jacket with Phil and Ben. As you can see, Ben is on a phone screen, hence his portrait
I am.
look on that.
I've left my laptop somewhere and I don't know where I've left it. I'm pretty sure I left with it on Friday. So I've either left it in the car park or it's been nicked.
It's not an infrequent occurrence on this show, I have to say. You have done it on your phone a few times.
I have, yeah. Yeah. And the show.
And it stops you from, scrolling through social media while I'm trying to talk geeky facts.
I've got a spare,
maybe.
don't you worry, young Philster. I've come prepared. I'm always prepared, Phil.
So the question is, what have you been listening to?
Oh, this week? Well, this may sound disturbing, Phil. More disturbing than the sight I saw before the countdown for us to record started, which is your spindly little twiglet legs sticking out from a pair of shorts, which I can just say, thankfully I haven't had breakfast, so I didn't have to keep anything down. But this week I've had a bit of an eclectic mix this week, Phil stuff. Obviously I've listened to my favourite Gallagher brothers, but I haven't really listened to an out and out album per se. Probably the closest I got was Rob Thomas's what's it called? What's the album called? Somebody to Be from about 2005, mainly because it was on in the car. The disturbing thing is I have been listening to this. I got this the other day because I was scrolling through that online shopping place, and once again they lured me in with a very reasonably priced album, and I bought it because I checked it out on other selling sites, and it was worth 4 times more than what I bought it for. And I thought, I've heard the name Charlie Simpson before. I thought, I'll give it a go, see what it's like. And I remember where Charlie Simpson's from. He is from Busted. He's one of the members of Busted. So I was thinking, because I know when he left Busted, I bet you didn't think we'd be talking about this today, did you? When he left Busted, he obviously went into Fight Star, and he was a bit more of a rocker. So I was expecting this to be sort of, a bit middle of the road, mild rock maybe. But I can safely say it isn't, because I've got a feel that the modern male solo artist, because I say, got nice hair, and the modern male solo artist, tries to do one of two things, and that is sound like a combination of Ed Sheeran and Lewis Capaldi. It's okay, well produced pop album. I'm not going to slate it for any of that, but it is almost very sort of ballady heavy. Not ballady, but these sort of modern sort of Ed Sheeran type sort of thing. So I've listened to that. I've had that on for the last couple of days, and then obviously I listened to the Smiths a little bit more because I've finally taken that album off my turntable. But it's mainly been a bit of Spotify playlist this week, Philster. I don't have much to report in the way of listening.
You were talking about the guy from Busted. I have to say, I've never really listened to them properly. I've only sort of heard bits of it on the radio. And I've never completely been able to tell the difference between Busted and McFly. I was about to say that they kind of blur into one for me, but of course they actually did do that, didn't they? They actually did blend the bands into one.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I do have a slight problem with one of the Busted songs. I may have brought it up before, and that's probably their biggest hit, Year 3000. But they sing the year 3000, not much has changed, but they live underwater. Now that's quite a big change. If I came home and my house was completely submerged underwater, I'd be like, It's going to take some getting used to, isn't it? And
That's a
then
show.
that came
That's a
out the
show.
year.
Hold that
What's
thought.
that?
Just hold that thought. That's a future show, isn't it? Lyrics that
Yeah, don't
have
mean anything.
problematic lyrics like that just
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And then the other one is, and your great 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 granddaughter. So that's only 3 generations of great. Is not going to cover the 1,000 years between the year 2000 and the year 3000.
Unless we've invented a special pill that makes people live much longer and keeps them fertile for much longer. So
Yeah, yeah.
maybe
But let's hope not. Let's hope not, dude. So yeah, so and you know me, I'm normally one for a former boy band, girl band solo members. I do own some Robbie Williams. I do own some Melanie C, uh, Marcus Mumford, to name but a few. So I'm always willing to give them a chance, see how they, what direction they take.
now talking of pop type music and particularly music that cool music fans are supposed to sneer at. I turned on the TV last night, specifically to watch some YouTube. So I had my headphones on, and then it was BBC One, I think it was, and it was one of these Radio One concerts, these festival things they do out wherever it was. I don't know, somewhere in this country.
Like the road show.
Yeah, well, it was a festival. It was a. Is it called? No, it's not tea. Is it Tea in the Park, or was it one of those kind of things? One of those kind of the big
Yeah, yeah,
weekend
yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever it is. It was a live festival, mini festival, and it was in a tent, and it was Ed Sheeran. And then I remembered that I'd heard that Ed Sheeran, when he started his career, he was immediately, because he took off quite quickly, so he was immediately placed at this particular event on the main stage. And he never got to play in the tent that was like the new band, new artists tent. So this year he decided he wanted to play the festival, but he said to them, "Can I please play in the tent? Because I think it'll have a good atmosphere, and I've never done it before because he's only ever been shoved straight onto the big stage." So he was doing that. Now I only watched one song, but I have to say, well, I watched maybe 2 songs. I have to say, I did quite enjoy it for what it was. And people sneer at him, don't they? But he does the whole show on his own with this. And I've never watched one of his live performances before. I'd heard about
Yeah, I
this. I'd
think he
never
has a
watched.
DJ with him,
He
but
has
his
this.
overheads are minimal.
Yeah, he has this thing that does the loops,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so he creates a new loop in front of the audience. And plays a little guitar riff, presses a button, and then that guitar riff repeats over and over, and then he does another bit, and he sort of builds his backing track
Yeah.
there. That's kind of, I'd never seen that before of anybody else. Did he invent doing that?
I don't know. I've seen a few videos on the YouTube of Chew, and there's a lot of artists out there who've got this technique of they create their drum loops and then build up the track and then start the track. But yeah, like I said, his overheads must be incredibly low. But wouldn't it be? But isn't the whole part of touring like you got your touring? I suppose he's got touring people with him, hasn't he? It's not like he's shifting all the rigs and everything himself. But I wonder if he would want a drummer.
If you're not employing a band, you are saving money, aren't you? And you're having
Yeah,
less equipment as well, because you're kind of
yeah.
a small amount of equipment you're plugging into the PA. So,
And
but
let's
yeah,
face it, Ed Sheeran is in need of a bob or two. So if
yeah,
you see Ed Sheeran playing anywhere, please buy something of his because he is struggling at the moment.
yeah. And he was doing that one about the shape of you, the one that's been played on the
Oh,
radio.
I hate that song.
But
Irritates me.
people in the audience. But I got annoyed by it on the radio. But then when he was doing it live, there's some songs that are a bit irritating on the radio. But then when you're done live, it's a little bit better because
Yeah,
everyone and then the audience responds to it. And I thought it's pop music. I thought it's quite good that there is. It's not my favourite kind of thing, but there's still some pop songwriters writing pop songs that people remember and respond
yeah,
to.
yeah. The Shape of You, that's the one with the TLC No Scrubs. Scrub is a guy that can't get no love from me, hanging on the
What,
passenger's side.
has it got a sample of that in it?
I think it has. I think it's that one.
I'm not sure. It might have.
Yeah, I'm sure it's that one that's
It
got me.
might
Oh, I
have.
keep
It's just,
kicking my camera. I do apologise. I'm sure it's that one.
but it was going down a storm with the audience. And I
Yeah.
don't think he should get slagged off. It's just British. It's just pop music, and he's a British success story, isn't he? I mean, he's
He
made
is. He is.
apparently he's worth 300 million,
Yeah.
and and he's friends with Taylor Swift and all this, and he's
Oh,
he's
you're well
absolute big
jealous
league.
now, aren't you?
Yeah, he's big league. So I mean, it's extraordinary. It's another of those things come from ordinary lad, and he's now massive. And he
Yeah,
doesn't.
I think he's from. Isn't he from Halifax?
He was
Wasn't he born in Halifax?
I think he was born in Halifax, and then he grew up somewhere like was it
Ipswich way. He's
Dorset?
an
Oh,
Ipswich.
okay. It's in the south. Yeah, the family moved
I know he's
south, I
an
believe.
Ipswich Town fan. But
Okay.
I'm just gonna have a look at him.
He's not glory
I know when he
hunting
was
then.
touring, he did spend a lot of time sofa surfing because he has learnt his craft. You can't, no matter what anybody says to diminish the credibility of Ed Sheeran, he has worked bloody hard.
The worst song is the one about the Irish girl. That's just
that one just
that's the worst one. But there's probably others that are perfectly good pop love ballad type mainstream songs.
I've got a couple of Ed Sheeran albums. I'm partial to a bit of the Shears. Let's have a look. So yes, he was born in Halifax, but raised in Framlingham, Suffolk. And at one point, I read somewhere that Ed Sheeran, this would have been, must be about 10 years ago, was one of the most influential artists in hip hop. And I thought, we have come a long way. That one of the most influential artists in hip hop is a not very tall ginger kid from Halifax.
That's a bit mad, isn't it? So hip hop has been influenced by Ed Sheeran. That's just mad, isn't it?
Yeah, well, he did a lot of collaborations with some big hip hop artists of their time.
Yeah, it's a bit like how a lot of the American R&B people. And I didn't mention this when we were talking the other week, so I'm glad I've now thought of it. We were talking about Phil Collins, another British success story who gets slagged off by cool music fans. He's highly regarded by the American R&B genre community because I mean they've covered. There was a whole album done covering his songs, and they see them as sort of soul songs. Take a look at me now.
Even Eminem mentions Phil Collins in one of his songs.
That's right. In the air tonight, doesn't he? Something about that in there.
Yeah, he sings about that because there was that rumor, wasn't there, of in the air tonight that it was
played by a gorilla.
That Phil Collins had seen somebody being drowned or something, and yeah.
Okay, so when it's where was I going with that? Yeah, he's more. Phil Collins is obviously more respected in America than he is here.
Yeah, well, you look at the Beatles. The Beatles influence a lot of hip hop and stuff like that. When you read a lot of interviews with hip hop people, listen to interviews because I know reading is very, very 20th century. A lot of them, their early music thing was like the Beatles. That's what influenced them to get into music. So,
but in terms
you don't necessarily have to be of that genre to be a part of that genre, I suppose.
Well, I was listening to someone yesterday who influenced hip hop, and he influenced hip hop more than Ed Sheeran and Phil Collins put together, and that is
it. I was going to say, is it Mr. Brown?
Yeah, now that's what you call influencing hip hop, isn't it? I mean, the number of
times
he's been sampled. Now, the other day, I don't know what I should show this. I'm showing all my guilty pleasures. Well, James Brown's not a guilty pleasure, but this one. Now, I've got some CDs that I didn't buy.
You nicked them, didn't you?
A gent I know, an elderly gent who's a bit of a rocker.
Stole from an elderly gentleman.
He's got a classic rock collection, but he had some damaged CD cases, and he got hold of a whole load of cheap charity shop CDs. He wasn't interested in the music; he just wanted the cases. So he basically raided the cases, and then he was left with obviously a load of unwanted CDs and the insert cards. So he asked me if I wanted any, so I grabbed a few that were half decent. And obviously, as you know, I do this hospital radio show, so we
You
have to
do
be
indeed.
a bit.
Award-winning hospital radio show.
Well, we have to be. Obviously, we have to be fairly mainstream on there. We cater for all taste, including strawberry and vanilla. And I thought,
Def Leppard.
I think in this case, Hot Fudge. Who did a song called Hot Fudge? That's a quiz question for you. We're in the pop realm. We're not a million. Well, we are away from Ed Sheeran, but it's probably an artist that might appeal to some of the Ed Sheeran audience. He's not. He's not really the rock category. He's more the pop category. A British superstar.
Cliff
Who?
Richard.
No, not quite as old as Cliff Richard. He's been around a while, but not as long as Cliff Richard.
Are we talking 80s?
We're talking more recently than the 80s. We're talking starting in the 90s, and he was a superstar, and this is an album track.
Robbie Williams?
That's the one.
Oh, yeah, Escapology. That's a really good album, actually. That's a really, really good album.
So I put it, because I've got quite a few, I did have a few spare cases, so I put it in the case and I've kept it.
That's one with Me and My Monkey on it.
It's got Me and My Monkey, and that's why I wanted to keep it, because I remember when I went to Las Vegas with my mate years ago, this album had not long come out, and we were driving through the desert from Los Angeles, from Los Angeles to Las Vegas, and he'd made a tape. I think in those days it was a tape. I don't think we weren't Spotify playlisting back then. But he'd made a tape, and he'd made a compilation of a few things that were thematically appropriate, and one of them was Me and My Monkey by Robbie Williams, because it's all about arriving in Las Vegas with his monkey.
It is, yeah.
So, I don't know why I've just randomly showed you Robbie Williams, but there we go. There's
a good album though,
There's a song on it called Hot Fudge, which I've heard before. It's got the chorus line it's an up-tempo poppy song, and the chorus line is "I'm moving to LA."
Yes. Oh, like right. Bram Bam 3000. 1 second, Phil, sir. Alexa, turn off the amp. I've got this buzz going on in my ear.
But I recognised that song, but I looked it up and it wasn't a hit.
Which one?
This Hot Fudge, this Moving to LA Robbie Williams song, wasn't actually a hit on the UK charts. But I know it. So how do I know it when it wasn't a hit? Because I've never really listened to any of the Robbie Williams albums before. So not in any depth. I only really heard his hits.
So you knew of it? Was it in a film? Was it in a film soundtrack?
Well, maybe it was. I don't know where I heard it, but I thought I recognise this. It must have been a hit single. It must have been played on the radio. Then I looked up the Robbie Williams.
No, it wasn't released from that album.
I looked at the Robbie Williams hits, and it wasn't. There was 2 hits off this album, which I think were "Feel" and "Come Undone." I think they were. I remember them being played on the radio, but I don't know how I know.
I wonder if it was in the soundtrack to something.
I don't know, but I definitely knew this.
Which takes me to one thing I have been listening to this week, because I've watched Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels for the first time since 1998. What a brilliant soundtrack that's got on it.
Now, I went and watched that. That's the Guy Ritchie one, isn't it?
It is, his debut film.
Is that the one that's got Vinnie Jones in?
It is, yeah. Big Chris and Little Chris.
I remember going with my cousin to watch that when it was first out.
Jason Statham.
I haven't seen it since then, I have to say.
No, I was the same. It's a little bit like, there's a few films, not Pulp Fiction, which is like Train Spotting. Watched it once. I always said I didn't want to go back and watch it again because I didn't want it to be tainted in a way by time.
Yeah, okay.
But there's some films I can watch over and over again. But yeah, definitely Lock, Stock. It's been best part of 27 years since I've seen it. It kicks off with Ocean Colour Scene. It's got like Massive Attack and things like that. It's a brilliant soundtrack. And it made me think, what other good soundtracks are there out there? Baby Driver, that's a good soundtrack.
No, I have seen that film. I'm very behind with seeing cool films normally.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Phil, DVDs are going to blow your mind.
Oh, wait till
when you catch up with them.
Well, I have watched Baby Driver, and it was very entertaining. And there's a lot of music in that, isn't it? And it's quite clever how
Yeah,
the music is incorporated in that, because it's what he's listening to on his headphones, isn't it?
yeah.
It's films that have got good soundtracks. Well, most of the Martin Scorsese films have good soundtracks.
Except Tarantino films as well.
They do. Now, Martin Scorsese's films, of course, since the late 70s, most of the soundtracks were chosen, the songs on them were chosen by Robbie Robertson of The Band,
The band,
because
yeah,
he was
yeah.
very, very matey with Scorsese. So that's a reason as to why there's so many good songs on them. Tarantino, yeah, I always have enjoyed Tarantino's use of music in the film. I do like the way that he just finds these random songs, some of which are obscure, some of which have been forgotten, and then puts them in there, and it
Yeah, yeah.
works.
The Pulp Fiction soundtrack's a really good soundtrack.
It is a good one. Jackie Brown, that's got some
Yeah,
good
another
soul
good
songs
one.
on there.
Yeah,
Some of them have got better soundtracks than the film. Have you seen Death Proof?
that's a Tarantino film. Isn't that the one he released as a double feature with the
It
other one?
was with Robert Rodriguez. It was
Yeah,
originally going to be called. Was called Grindhouse, wasn't it? It was two films in one. It was supposed to be like going into one of these cheap old flea pit cinemas and watching these two B movies. And the Rodriguez film was called, I can't remember, but it was the one about the girl that she's got a machine gun built into her leg. Do you remember that? False leg, and it's
yeah,
a machine
yeah.
gun. And I can't remember what the film. Oh, is it? That's no. Yeah, I can't remember what that is called. But the Tarantino film was called Death Proof. But it was
I'm,
released as a standalone film because they wouldn't release Grindhouse in the UK to cinemas. So
yes, Grindhouse. That's the other film. Yeah. Do you want me
um,
to read some of the tracks off of Lock Stock? Because I'm actually there's somebody we have spoken about today appears a lot
what in
in the soundtrack.
the soundtrack
The yeah.
of Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels? Okay, well it's not going to be Ed Sheeran
Wait
because he
there.
was.
Hold on. Or am I being? Or am I being? Am I being an idiot? One second. Before I make an idiot of myself, let me just clarify something.
You did say.
Uh,
I like the way you say before I make an idiot of myself.
right. No, don't think I'm going to make it. What are you trying to say, Phil Step? Right. So you got 100 Mile High City by Ocean Could Have Seen. Then you got The Boss by James Brown from
Okay.
1973. Police and Three Thieves. But you got Spooky by Dusty Springfield on there.
Oh yeah,
Man
groovy.
Machine by Robbie Williams. I Want to Be Your Dog by the Stooges. I'm not reading them all out. I'm just having a quick look
I don't
through.
remember these. I don't remember very much about the film at all, apart from that
The
it had Vinnie
Payback,
Jones.
James Brown. Fool's Gold, The Stone Roses.
There's a very good soundtrack.
Oh yeah, there's another thing of the Payback with Yeah, it's a really good soundtrack. I'm sure it had some Massive Attack or something. I might be getting confused with another film I've been watching. So
Possibly.
uh, you can get it on limited edition red vinyl for £47.99. Or you can buy it on CD for £2.50.
Well, yeah. How many times are you going to listen to it? This is the thing with these albums on vinyl that cost 40 quid. Okay, maybe it's an investment. You're going to sell it later, but why? For the number of times you're going to listen to it,
Are you going to get £47 worth out of it?
exactly when you might get it for
I
£2.50.
can understand it. Say like with myself, with like collecting the Oasis vinyls and stuff like that. You want to be a bit of a completist, but for a one-off album, like say, are you going to get your money's worth out of it?
Probably not, because half the time you're going to, if you really like it, half the time you'll probably end up streaming it off Spotify in your car anyway, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
some.
and
Um,
I can tell you now that I have a lot of albums by artists that I love that I've bought, and they're still in the cellophane. So, but yeah, we'll have to do a show on soundtracks. Our top 5 favourite soundtracks. I've got 3 already, 4 already. In fact, I've got 4. I'm already there. 5. In fact, I can give you 6 now.
I'm trying to think of other soundtracks. I mean, obviously, there's also these kind of soundtracks that we just talked about. Tend to be ones that are basically compilations or playlists, aren't they? Really, of
Yeah,
songs that
yeah.
already existed. Obviously, there are also original soundtracks in the sense that they are all brand new music that's been done for that film, which I kind of, you got to admire that as well. I mean, if it's good, but I was trying to think of examples of that. I could go into jazz. There's the Miles Davis one, the French film, which in English translates as "Elevator to the Gallows." Have you ever heard of that one?
No, no.
That's a Miles Davis moody late night jazzy album. Got that somewhere. Duke Ellington did an album of a soundtrack, and I think it's called Anatomy of a Murder. That was a new soundtrack. That was all done
I've
by
heard of that.
That was done by Duke Ellington. I'm going a bit into jazz here, but trying to think. Have any major rock or pop artists done a soundtrack album where they've done new songs and it's all been the soundtrack of a film? Has that been done?
Didn't Badly Drawn Boy do the soundtrack for About a Boy? I'm sure he did a whole album.
Oh, did he?
For that movie About a Boy. Yeah, yeah.
Is that a Hugh Grant thing?
That's a Hugh Grant thing. Yeah.
Okay, I've not seen it, but okay, I can believe that, but I haven't seen it. Just trying to think. Well, you were talking about Guy Ritchie. Of course, he was famously married to somebody very famous.
Madonna.
Now, she did that film with Warren Beatty. Do you remember the Dick Tracy?
Dick Tracy, yes,
now, that had all original songs on the soundtrack. That's an original album. In fact, the album it's called "I'm Breathless" because that was her character. Not all the songs were used in the movie, but they were all sort of jazz swing type songs that were done.
Yeah.
All originals. That pops into my head the other day. I think I read the other day that was now 35 years old or something. It was all
I thought you say that was now 35.
No. Who else has... Come on, other people have done soundtrack albums. Who else has done them? Oh, Bob Dylan did it for Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, the Western that he was in.
Yeah.
Other people must have done this.
What's his name? Alex Turner from the Arctic Monkeys did the one about the film called Submarine.
Oh, okay.
I think it's only an extended EP though, but it kind of counts.
Who's that guy that was in that band in the 60s? Did that film in the 80s, and it was considered to be rubbish. Remember that one? Had a big hit ballad on it though, but a lot of the rest.
David Bowie, Labyrinth.
No, not thinking of him, but thinking of that guy. Who's that guy? He was in that band.
Paul McCartney.
That's him. That's him.
Yeah.
That was a whole soundtrack, newly recorded, wasn't it? He did some remakes of old songs on it. But,
yeah.
But there were some new songs on it as well.
I don't think I've ever seen that. Right? If I have seen it, it's because it was on late at night in the mid-90s on like Channel 4 or something like
that. It's worth watching as a historical curio. If you go into it knowing that it's crap, right? It's fine. It's enjoyable for what it is. It's not particularly. I mean, the remakes of the Beatles songs is a very much sort of, well, why did he bother doing them? And then you've got No More Lonely Nights, which is obviously a very good ballad, and there's some of the songs on the soundtrack that were new that were not just okay, but that was it really. It was a weird project, really.
Yeah, it's kind of a project that didn't really need to be made. Like Spice World, that didn't need to be made. But I think we'll have to do a show on our top 5 favourite soundtracks.
Right.
I can do that. I already know it off by heart. Can I put Transformers the movie, the 1985, 86 film?
Not Toy Story as well.
You got the touch. You got the power. Yeah. I had to get that bit in. What a great track that is.
I don't remember.
You'll love that. You'll have to listen to that. What's his name? Something Bush.
How about Top Gun?
Yeah, that's not a bad
That was
soundtrack.
a big seller, wasn't it? How about Dirty Dancing? That would be your kind of thing, wouldn't
Yeah, not really my sort
it?
of, you know. Um, yeah, we'll have to have a think. We'll have to have a yeah, we'll have to have a delve, a deep dive into our favourite tracks. But
But
oh, I'll tell you one thing we were going to talk about. If you want to talk about it, what question was the question of cover versions?
yeah, well, let's dive into that on another show
We will do, yeah,
because we've been
yeah.
talking for half an hour, and you said you only had
I
an
think
hour,
that's
so
enough. I think that's enough for people, isn't it? They've had enough of us by now.
I would have thought so.
Yeah, we won't bore them any longer.
Half an hour. Thank you, viewer, for bearing with us for
Yeah.
30 whole minutes. We'll be back with another show if you want to put yourself through that. In the meantime, take care.